Okay, this is our last section on 7.1 and 7.2, which is division of rational expressions. Going to be the same as multiplication of these rational expressions, except we're going to have one extra step. So we're going to have to change this division to multiplication. And when we do that, we invert the fraction after the division sign. So this 17/26 becomes 26/17, and the division sign becomes multiplication. Now we're right back to the ones that we've done. So there's nothing to factor here, so we look to see if we can simplify it or reduce it. So 13 into 13 once, 13 into 26 two times. So we have an a times the 2 for 2a, a 1 times the 17 for 17 for the denominator. Okay. Likewise here, the very first thing we want to do is to change this division to the multiplication and invert the fraction after the division sign. So now we're going to be dealing with this as multiplication. And so we're going to start factoring if we can. The numerator here, we can take an x out of each. So we take the x out and we're left with x plus 1 in parentheses. The denominator, we can take a 3 out. So we're left with x minus 5. The next one, the numerator, we can take a 6 out of each. So when we do that, we're left with x minus 5 in parentheses. This one, where we have the squared term, that means there's 2 of them. So you want to undo the squared term and have 2 of them side by side, meaning they're multiplied. Now we factored everything we can. Like terms top and bottom, numerator and denominator, we can cancel out. Don't forget the numbers. 3 will go into 3 once, into 6 twice. X minus 5 go. So we're left with an x and a 2. Those multiplied are a 2x. Here we're left with just x plus 1. Okay, the next one, we have to change this division to multiplication. Invert this one. Invert the second fraction after the division sign. Now we're ready to go here. For the numerator here, we have a number greater than 1 in front of the x squared term. So we're going to have to use the AC method there. And I'm going to go into the AC method in detail at the end of this video. When you do that, you'll end up factoring into that. The denominator here, we can't factor anything here, so we leave that as it is. Can't factor the 1, so this 4y squared minus x squared becomes 2y plus x and 2y minus x, because this is the difference of squares. Square root of 4 is 2, square root of y squared is y, and the square root of x squared is x. We have no middle term, so one of them's got to be positive and one has to be negative. Okay, now we can start canceling. So we have common parentheses 2x plus y. And here we have an x minus 2y and a 2y minus x. So if we reverse that, we would have a negative. Take the negative out of this, and we'd be left with x minus 2y. So let's go through that. We take a negative, in other words, dividing this, we'd get to negative 2y, negative x. Here, we are negative 1, I mean, where we get positive x, and the negative out in front. Now we can cancel this with this. And so we're left with a negative out in front of this 2y plus x. Or you could have put it another way and put it this way. Either way is fine. All right, lastly, we're going to go over the AC method. So here we have a number greater than 1 in front of the squared term. So that's our A, our B, and our C. So the A times the C is 3 times the 7 would be the 21. That's the AC term. So the B term is negative 22. So we need two factors, in other words, two numbers that multiplied give us 21, the positive 21, but when added give us a negative 22. So if you see this number is bigger than the AC number, it's probably going to be the number and 1. So we need both of these to be negative. So negative 21 times negative 1 is positive 21, and negative 21 and another negative 1 are negative 22. So now we have to decide, is the negative 21 going to go with the 3 or if it's going to go with the 7. So I'm going to put it with the 3. So we'll have 3y squared minus 20. Oh, this should be a y. Minus 21y minus another 1y plus 7. Okay, so all we did was change this negative 22y into negative 21y and a negative 1y. So the key is the two factors, or the two numbers multiplied give you 21, and when added they give you negative 22. So they would both have to be negative, and they would have to be negative 21 and negative 1. Now we have our four terms. That means factor by grouping the first two together and the second two together. So here, out of the 3 and the 21, we can take a 3. We got a y in each, so we take the y out, and we're left with y minus 7. Now, the second set, the lead term is negative. So when you see in the second set that the lead term is negative, you want to take the negative out. So in this case, it's negative 1y, so we take negative 1 out. That would leave y minus 7. So remember, when you do that, these two have to match. So when you get to here, if they don't match, maybe you took a positive 1 out of here, but you did something a little off. Okay, now that these are common, you can take those out. Take this one out, and we're left with 3y. Take the second one out, and we're left with negative 1. So if you FOIL this and multiplied it back, you would get right back to where you started, right up here. So in all these coming up in the next 2 sessions, we'll be going through this AC method even more. And then we'll do that also on the 2 days we're going to have for the review for the final. So that ends this session.